We are living in a day and an age where anxiety is at an all-time high. And yet what we're also going to find is that for some reason, you and I also live, especially in the United States of America, and probably one of the most comfortable, probably one of the most safest lives that we could live. And yet, what we're going to find is that there is something about the modern experience that is just not conducive to our internal flourishing. It could be the constant bombardment of social media. It could be the ambient amount of anxiety that's fed to us through cable news. All I know is this, that you and I constantly struggle with this feeling of the four walls of our world constantly caving in. And it's within that context that what we find is that the Apostle Paul wants to speak to that. And what we want to do today is we want to look at what is the most popular book in the Bible. And if you look at the YouVersion app and if you look at the Kindle, what you will find is that this verse is also the most underlined verse in the entire Bible. So today what we want to do is we want to look at the most famous verse in the most famous book, in the most famous volume, and that's Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. If you have your Bibles, why don't you turn to Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 through 7. If not, we'll go ahead and throw up on the screen. What you're going to find is that the Apostle Paul says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. Actually, let's stop a little bit earlier than that. What is he saying? It's saying that I want you to be anxious about no thing, right? But in everything, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pray, right? That I want you to be anxious about no thing, but in, say everything with me, but in everything, I want you to pray. In other words, that whenever something comes on your plate, here's what I want you to do. That I don't want you to take it to your worry, but I want you to take it to God. And to take it to God in prayer. Now, I know what you're thinking. Because some of you are thinking, really? Like, that's it? That's all you got, preacher man? Like, I came all the way from where I came from just to hear that, like, prayer is the answer to this, that prayer's going to solve my house problem, that prayer's going to solve my kid and how crazy my kid is and how my kid can't sleep at night. All I want to say is this, that before you go knocking on prayer, I want to ask you, how's your coping mechanism working for you? Because maybe your verse would sound something like this. It would sound like, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, pound a bunch of carbs and try and eat your feelings. Because you and I know what it's like. When we're all stressed out, and it feels like the weight of the world is upon my shoulders, we want to take it to the pantry and not take it to prayer. Or maybe what we do is we take it to social media, right? And we scroll, and we scroll, we scroll, we scroll, we scroll. Knowing, you and I both know the studies, that social media doesn't alleviate our levels of anxiety. It actually amplifies our level of anxiety. Or maybe what we do is we take it to a website. Any retail therapists out there? We take it to a website. We take it to a drink. We take it to a pill. And I'm not saying that counseling is bad. I'm not saying that you and I shouldn't be open if a doctor prescribes us medicine. Yeah, this is not a refutation of some of the modern day resources that God has made available to us. All I'm trying to say is that you and I have a tendency to underestimate prayer.